that he's still got that 6th-round pick in his body, despite everything he's done, and I absolutely love it. And I love that he's saying it publicly for the first time.
Me too. And Sacho, to me, that's the best point there at the end, that he was the guy who 198 players went ahead of once upon a time. And then he won 6 Super Bowls. And then he became the guy that the overwhelming majority of teams in the league didn't want. And I think that maybe in that regard, he sounds like he's saying he is sort of rejuvenated by that, Sam.
Yeah, he is. And I honestly got chills watching that video. I hadn't seen the video yet. So even just watching that gave me chills, because it reminded me that not only is Tom Brady human, but also he has feelings, he has emotions. That seemed like it hurt him that all those teams looked over him. It hurt him that he won 199. It hurt him. These storylines, we don't know his whole history, but these storylines sometimes follow you throughout your entire life. It's like, man, they're still overlooking me even after 6 rings. That hurt me. And we all know that sometimes emotions, whether it's anger or whether it's joy, those things can drive you to do things you may not have been able to do otherwise. And so watching Tom Brady, seeing this new side, the real Tom Brady, if you will, these emotions, I actually am even more excited for what he's going to be for Tampa Bay this year, next year, and who knows, maybe even after that.
What do you think, Boog?
You know, Greeny, very few people wake up every day and say, you know what, I'm just going to go out and run these 3 miles just because, or I'm just going to go to work just because. We all have to have a motivating factor in our life for why we go out and do certain things. And I don't think Tom Brady is any different. Now, sometimes those things are substantial. Sometimes those things are manufactured. And regardless of how you get there, it's the motivation that each and every one of us need to get up and do what we do every single day. And as far as Tom Brady comparing himself to Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan, Greeny, if you can't pat yourself on the back, if you can't look in the mirror and say, this is who I am, then how can you expect other people to do that? I don't look at it as bragging. I don't look at it as Tom Brady. Maybe he's doing something different that we haven't seen, but what he's doing is what I expect to do. I have to be honest with myself. Like, this is who I am. Kevin Durant told you, you know my name, right? It's Kevin Durant. Like, that's who I am. I'm Kevin Durant. Tom Brady is doing the same thing. Like, y'all know who I am? I'm Tom Brady. Like, do you really want, I'm Tom Brady. And I love it, Greeny.
That's right. To quote our old friend Chris Carter, who once said, you know who I am? Google me. And that's basically what Tom Brady is saying to the entire National Football League. Google me. You passed up on Gretzky. You passed up on Jordan. He made everybody pay last year and maybe does it again. In the meantime, let's take a look ahead to this coming season with some either-ors here and some quarterback questions. Booger, I'm starting with you. Who has a bigger season, Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott?
Greeny, I'm going with Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is going to be motivated coming back off a season in which we all saw how it ended with the injury. I think if you look at the weapons around him, regardless of whether the offensive line is a sieve or they're completely healthy and return back to 2016, 2017 form, you look at the weapons around Dak Prescott, how can you not help but to think a guy that was on pace for the MVP last year is not going to be back in the conversation this year?
Sam Acho, you're next. Who has a bigger season, Josh Allen or Justin Herbert?
Hands down, Justin Herbert, and here's why. Number one, he has a coach named Brandon Staley who's going to take him to the next level. Number two, I trained with some guys who played with him at Oregon. They talk about his demeanor, his passion for the game, and also his desire to get better. And number three, they had the second worst offensive line last year. They drafted number 13 overall from Northwestern, a guy named Rashawn Slater, to go and protect that blind side of this great quarterback.
Yep, they also brought in 2 free agent offensive linemen. I'm with you completely. All right, Kimberly, who has a bigger year, Ryan Fitzpatrick or Carson Wentz?
Greeny, I'm going to shock you. I'm going to say Carson Wentz. Here's why. I don't know what Carson Wentz will look like with the Colts, but he's got to look better than he did during his last few years in Philly. I've lived through the Fitz cycle. I've seen it. He might win you some games, but he'll also lose you some games. I think Carson Wentz is set up. This is the perfect dream scenario for Carson Wentz. They were just a quarterback away from being a complete team. Carson Wentz steps right in. Now, Fitz might start the season better statistically, but Carson Wentz, he'll finish the season a lot better.
Well, I'm with you. It is the perfect setup for Carson Wentz. But Ryan Fitzpatrick was talking yesterday, and he said that this, his 9th different NFL team, is actually the best situation he's ever had. Listen.
I think this is the best situation I've ever been in, or the best situation that I've ever gone into as the guy. I just feel like the way that I'm playing the last 4 years, kind of the progression of my career, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that 17 years in, physically I feel great, mentally, emotionally, I'm in the right spot. I just think I am set up for success this year, and I'm really looking forward to it.
So as we look at what he might be able to do this year, and we will make our picks here in the NFC East, I've told you a million times, I am all in on the Washington football team, on that defense, on an underrated arsenal of weapons, and yes, on a quarterback who for the last few years has been better than almost anyone gives him credit for. I get that he has been a roller coaster. The last few years, there's been a lot more ups than there have been downs. So I'm on Washington. Booger, how about you?
Greeny, you and I are sharing a brain. I'm on Washington also. I just love Ron Rivera and what he's done. And it's about a culture. It's about creating an environment where you can get the best out of the individuals that you have. The defense, I think, is going to be outstanding. And you say, okay, what is the defense going to do? Go back and watch the Super Bowl and watch what Tampa Bay did to arguably the best quarterback in football in that offense. That defense dominated Patrick Mahomes. So your defense and your front four can help you. And I just believe that Fitzpatrick is going to be consistent enough where they can run the football with Gibson. They can make some plays on the outside with Terry McLaurin. I think overall, I know more about the Washington football team than I do about any of the other three teams in that division. I'm taking the Washington football team, Greeny.
That's 2 for 2. Sacho, how about you?
Hey, let's make it 3 for 3. Washington football team. And I'm glad y'all are finally, people are finally coming around. I was high on Washington before the season started last year. And they proved me and a lot of us right. Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. That's just the defense, right? Let's go to offense. Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick, there's arguments. Maybe he'll be successful. Maybe he'll get injured. You don't know. But you got Antonio Gibson. You also got Terry McLaurin, scary Terry McLaurin. You have weapons on that offense and the defense. And last but not least, you have a culture and a coach in Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, who's going to get you where you want to go, which is going to be an NFC title.
Year 2 of the program. So we're 3 for 3. Kimberly, is it a clean sweep?
Greeny, it is not. And here's why. You guys talk about, what Washington is. Did you know that Washington went 3-7 outside the division last year and was outscored by 53 points in those games? Credit to Hembo for that stat, because that shows you that this is still, Washington isn't just a certainty. They're still a team in transition. Yes, you name all those guys on defense. We still got to see that offense get better. So my choice is actually going to be the Dallas Cowboys.